Hey, what's up everybody? Dave Kowsagan here at Dave's Your Guy Real Estate. And it is Tuesday, June 14th, start of beautiful summer here in San Diego. I wanted to touch base on a couple of things, primarily the real estate market, and I'd love to get your feedback on what's going on with the market, because as you know, the last couple of years have been quite crazy in terms of price appreciation. Interest rates have been crazy low, which has really created a lot of that frenzy, along with an inventory shortage. But that said, where we are today versus where we have been is quite a bit different. So tomorrow, Wednesday, we are expecting the Federal Reserve, or AKA the Fed, to increase the interest rates for which banks can borrow money, and then will effectively have a higher cost or higher interest rates for borrowing money from banks. So primarily you're going to see interest rates jump on credit cards and consumer lending and so forth based on this increase. However, there tends to be maybe not necessarily a direct correlation with mortgage rates, but they do tend to kind of follow suit. Again, it isn't a direct correlation, meaning the Fed raises rates doesn't mean interest for mortgages instantly go up. So there is other things behind the scenes based on the treasury bonds and so forth. It's a little complicated, but all that said, what I mainly want to share with you is just the cost of loans for home buyers today are much more expensive than they were even 6 months ago. So I'll give you a great example of what that means today versus what was happening over the last 2 years. So San Diego County, we saw record increases the last 2 years, just similar to everywhere else, but we had even hit a milestone this year of the median home price of $1 million, meaning the median home price for any home in San Diego County was $1 million. So you have to buy $1 million home just to be kind of the average Joe in San Diego County, which is pretty nuts. But the interest rates have been so low. When we started pre-pandemic, we were hovering in that 4.5 to 4.875% interest on mortgages, and we've had a nice run of appreciation, pretty steady over the last decade since the housing crash in 2008. There was a kind of a lull between 8 to 12, and then 2013 was a big year, and we've had some flat years in between, but nothing really going backwards. So and interest rates have stayed fairly normal, or fairly predictable, if you will, over the last 10 years. So once the pandemic hit, and then we saw mortgage rates, and we saw even the Fed drop the rates, the interest rate for banks down to virtually nothing. We saw rates go from 4.5 to 4.875 down to 2.5 to 2.75, that range. So we're talking about a 2% drop. And what that ultimately does is it creates buying power for the buyers in the marketplace. So if, let's say for example, California is going to be big dollars. So anybody who's watching this in a smaller price market is going to be probably a little floored by the cost of living here. But let's say for example you were going to buy an $800,000 home here in San Diego, and you were going to put 20% down, and you were at 3% interest on that mortgage. Your payment is going to be about $3,700 a month. So now that interest rates are at about 5.5% for mortgages, now that same house that was $3,700 a month is now going to be about $4,700 to $4,800 a month. So $1,000 to $1,100 a month difference. And we're talking about that changing in a matter of a few months. So what does that do for the buyer pool? What does that even mean, the buyer pool? It's the buyers that are out there hunting to buy your home. If you go to list your house, you have what's known as a pool of buyers in the marketplace that are looking to buy something. Well, that pool of buyers shrink because they are priced out of that price point now. So if you go to list your home at $800,000 and you're expecting the same people who could afford $3,700 a month to buy your home, well, they're no longer there. So you have a situation where those people that could afford $3,700 a month, their buying power shrunk down to about $635 to $650. So that's $150,000 in buying power lost just over the course of a few months. So does that mean that sellers of properties at $800,000 are going to have to come down to $650? I don't necessarily think that's true, because you have also the people that were buying at, let's say, $950,000 to $1 million. They're going to have to come down now too, because if that was their max buying power, a few months ago, now they're going to be looking at the $800,000 price range. But they're also going to have a $950,000 to $1 million taste in their mouth of what they like. So there's going to be a changing of the guard. There's going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. And we're also seeing more homes come onto the market. Some of that's a natural thing, because seasonally, when school ends and when school begins is kind of a window of time when a lot of home sellers are trying to make their move, and a lot of home buyers too, because people want to be settled before the school year starts, and people kind of want to make their moves, when school ends. They're not trying to pull their children out of school and move out of the district or something like that, or move, school zones. And anyway, so you have that window of time, kind of the spring, summer, April to August, April to July is kind of the hotter season. And that's when a lot of people start hitting the market, which we're seeing some of that naturally. So inventory is growing. But we're also seeing a lot of folks who've been on the sidelines for a while, and they are trying to capture the tail end of this frenzy, because they know that interest rates are rising, and they know that, prices are likely going to have to come back down to accommodate the affordability factors of these high interest rates. So I guess my question to you, based on this data, if you're seeing, if you see homes that are priced at $800,000 and your payment goes up by $1,100 a month, how do you think that's going to affect the marketplace? I think we're going to have to see, at least somewhere meeting in the middle. I think there's going to be probably a 10 to 15% drop. So if you're at $1 million and let's say your neighbor sold for $1 million 6 months ago, you could be at $900,000 if you were trying to sell it today, just to accommodate that affordability factor. But there's a lot of variables to this, so it's not just affordability. At some point, sellers will also just simply demand more, and if they don't get what they want, they're going to pull their house off the market. So there would be a little bit of a natural selection process as well, where sellers are just not willing to take what the market's delivering, and so inventory will possibly stay in check a little bit, and then buyers are going to end up being forced somewhere along the line to pay what the sellers are asking for, because there's just no other options. So it'll be interesting to see, but I am curious as to everybody's thoughts on it. I have heard a lot of people talking about predicting that we'll see another 2008 crash, which I don't believe to be true. The big reason is because there's just way too much equity in the marketplace right now with homeowners. And so a lot of people may not understand what that means, but basically the amount of homes that have loans on them, in terms of what they're worth and in terms of what they owe on them, that's equity, right? So if I have $1 million home and I owe $500,000 on that home, I have 50% equity. Well, if the marketplace drops 20% in value, so now my home is only worth $800,000 instead of $1 million, well, I still only owe $500,000 on it, so I still got $300,000 equity. I'm not going to lose my home just because the market drops. So I'm not going to go into foreclosure and see this cascading domino effect of foreclosures like we saw in 2008. In 2008, there was a ton of people that didn't even deserve to be approved for a home loan based on having no income or terrible credit. And then on top of that, when they bought with zero down. So you had way over leveraged. So interesting stats that I've come across over the last year or so. 40% of all homes in America are completely paid off, which I thought was pretty astounding. You can't foreclose, I guess you could. You can't foreclose a mortgage, a lender's not going to foreclose on a property that's paid off because there's no mortgage. Hypothetically, you could, if you're not paying your taxes and whatnot, then yeah, you could probably get foreclosed on. But if you have enough equity and somebody's in a jam, they're just going to turn around and sell the property. That's what it comes down to. Another interesting stat was that it was about 90% of all homes in America have more than 20% equity. So even that stat alone, when you have a massive majority of homeowners have more than 20% equity, if the market dips 10%, 15%, and then the economy hits a really rough patch in terms of job loss and so forth, even if those folks get into a jam, there's likelihood that most of them will still have enough room in their equity to put the home on the market and get it sold and actually come out with some cash and get resituated and get back on their feet. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I'm curious as your feedback on this. Anybody who's taken the time to watch this entire video, I appreciate you hanging in there with me, but I'm just curious as to what everybody's predictions are. I think we can't not have prices come down. I think it's impossible that when you have mortgage rates at 5.5% or higher, there's predictions it's going to keep going up. We may see over 6% mortgage rates by the end of the year. I don't know. I'm not trying to be a fear monger or anything like that, but it's just kind of a natural consequence of high cost loans. If the loan costs a lot and the payments a lot, then the buying power shrinks, and therefore the market prices tend to shrink. It's just a natural thing. So does that mean it's going to crash like crazy and everybody's going to be, blood in the streets kind of thing? I don't think so, but it'll be probably a short period of a little bit of fear. There's probably going to be a period of uncertainty and so forth. But I also think we're in an era of speed. Technology has made things go much, much faster than they have in years past. So recessions happen faster, I believe, because so much about recession and people's opinion of the economy and so forth, so much of that is contagious through information, and we share information at the click of a button. So anyhow, that's my soapbox for today, and again, thanks for hanging in there, and I'd love to hear your opinion on this topic. So either comment below or hit me up, shoot me a text, give me a call, and let's shoot the breeze. I like talking shop. So all right, have a good one, and talk to you soon.